Did he notice that anything was wrong?
No. He was quite helpful, quite polite. He gave me his telephone number.
I can't believe it. After so many years wondering if he were really alive, and now the thought that he might be here. You say he gave you his phone number?
Yes.
Then call him up.
Call him up? What for?
Ask him for some information, like where does one have to arrange for a visa to go to Paraguay.
All right. When?
Now.
Now?
And when you talk with him, I want to listen to his voice. I will remember his voice no matter what language he speaks.
Señorita, por favor, ¿podría conseguirme el 468-1271 en la ciudad? Sí. ¿Aló? Señor Carrillo. Esta es la joven María, la que usted conoció esta mañana. ¿Recuerda? Sí. ¿Cómo? No, que quería darle las gracias por haberme dado las instrucciones de cómo llegar acá. Sí, llegué muy bien. Y se lo agradecí mucho. Sí, no hay que hablar. Adiósito.
It's he.
Hello, friends. Have you ever wondered whether or not there will be a future day of reckoning for all the crimes which have been committed throughout the ages? And what about those who have innocently suffered as a result of these crimes? Will there be compensations for them? Many have pondered these questions, as will be seen from this program, which is presented in the spirit of tolerance and goodwill. The program opens in a hotel room in Buenos Aires, South America. But why tell you more? Let's get on with the program.
Maria, I am pleased to see you. I was beginning to worry.
It was nothing. One thing led to another, and then I missed my train.
Did you check the mail?
Oh, yes. A letter from your husband.
Oh, at last. Oh, well. Everything seems to be all right.
How are the children?
Fine. Of course, they miss me, and Max has found it difficult to explain why I am away.
Lisa.
Yes?
Why don't you give it up and go back?
After hunting all over South America, and now, just when we seem to be on the track of something very important, you can say that to me, to go back now?
For the sake of the children and your husband.
It won't be long now, Maria. I feel so confident that we are almost there. And then when I am back, I'll make it all up to them. Maria, this is something that must be very hard for you to understand. It happened over 20 years ago. But I have never been able to put it out of my mind. And then when I heard he might still be alive, I felt I would go insane until I found him. Now I think we are getting close.
Lisa, even if you find him, will it change things? What good will it do now?
Justice will have been done. And I think it's important that beasts like him be made to pay for their crimes.
It's natural for you to feel that way about it, but do you realize the thousands of criminals that go unpunished I mean, so far as the operation of human justice is concerned. Personally, I believe that there is a higher tribunal before which all will eventually be judged.
Perhaps so. But Maria, if you could have been there in those days, it goes beyond your imagination. How they made us live, how they made us die, how they laughed over their eating and drinking when they sent us off to the gas chambers, when they sent our bodies in for medical research. Maria, I was one of those girls. I was a very young girl. I was very pretty. I had no idea there could be such a thing as a devil in a human being alive in this world. The doctor, I'll tell you, was a devil. So many of my family and friends are dead by his hands, yet he is alive. Yes, alive, perhaps in this very city. Somewhere maybe he's laughing this very moment.
Lisa, calm yourself. Recalling those horrors of the past won't help you any. After all, you did survive, and since have enjoyed many wonderful blessings.
Now I am a rich woman. I have money. There is nothing I need in life, except maybe to satisfy this one ambition, to find him. And since it was so easy for me to be able to travel to make this search, I had to do it, and I am not sorry.
Lisa.
Yes.
Did I ever tell you how my family became Christians?
No.
The story was told to me by my grandfather, who lived deep in the interior of Peru. He was an Indian and a member of a tribe that was forever at war with another tribe nearby. The tribes fought each other from one generation to another. Each tribe was trying to get even with the other, and when they did, this was an excuse for the other tribe to strike back again. This might still be going on, except that a missionary came into the territory and was able to reach the people in both tribes with a better viewpoint, a viewpoint of understanding and love, as against mistrust and hate.
I get it. You think I am like those Indian tribes seeking revenge. And if I do get even, nothing will have been settled. But go ahead, Maria. Tell me the rest of the story. I suppose those Indian tribes simply stopped fighting, and that was that.
Yes, Lisa, they did. But it wasn't that simple. It took time. If it were not for that, I wouldn't be here today. For my grandfather would never have had time to go to Lima, where he met my grandmother, and where they were married.
Well, it's a touching story, Maria. I am sure it has had a great effect on your life. But do you think that all the horrors of the world could be stopped in the way those Indian tribes were made to stop fighting? You speak of those tribes accepting Christianity. But don't you realize that during the Middle Ages, wars were fought in the name of Christ? And think of the Holy Inquisition. No. I think I would rather depend on the strong arm of civil justice to punish criminals than to wait for missionaries to reform the world.
Lisa, I understand your feelings. But do you realize how many horrible crimes against humanity have been committed? What I'm suggesting is that if you leave your problem with the Lord, with the assurance he gives in the Bible that he will, in due time, mete out justice to all, you would feel so much happier. Right now, your desire for vengeance is ruining your life. And to some extent, the life of your family as well.
Yes, of course. I know. Oh, it's such a beautiful night. I can't get over how nice it was when we were out on the pampas.
The land is so flat, so endless to the eye.
It's a pure, natural beauty.
Yes, tonight on the way here, the night was so clear. The stars so close, it almost feels like you just jump up and grab a whole handful of them.
Do you suppose he might be out there?
Maybe.
Living under the same stars. Sleeping peacefully at night? Or haunted by dreams? Haunted by the fear that somebody will finally catch up with him?
Lisa. What if we were finally to find out that he's alive, that he's here?
I would get the news back to the authorities with all the information that they need.
And then?
He will be prosecuted.
Then?
He would be executed.
And then?
I would have seen justice done. And then maybe that which was unforgettable could be forgotten.
Lisa.
Yes.
I have what you wanted.
I don't understand.
The reason I was late is that I was following a lead that we were working on. Someone told me that they had known such a doctor. So I went with her down to the Labous area, and she pointed him out to me.
You actually saw him?
Yes.
Did he look like the pictures I gave you?
Yes. But of course, it's been 20 years since those pictures were taken. His face is much changed.
You are absolutely sure?
I made arrangements to talk with him.
How?
I pretended that I was a tourist. He was very kind.
Kind, did you say?
Yes. And polite.
Polite. Did you notice his speech?
Yes. It was decidedly German.
Did he sense that anything was wrong?
No. He was quite polite. He offered to help me if I needed it. He gave me his telephone number.
I can't believe it. After so many years wondering if he were really alive, and now the thought that he might be here. You say he gave you his phone number?
Yes.
Then call him up.
Call him up? What for?
Ask for some information like where does one have to arrange for a visa to go to Paraguay.
All right. When?
Now.
Now?
Yes.
All right.
And when you talk with him, I want to listen to his voice. I will remember his voice no matter what language he speaks.
Hello. Señorita. ¿Podría hacer el favor de conseguirme el teléfono 416-2310 en la ciudad? Sí. ¿Aló? ¿O señor Carraquillo? Oh, le habla María, la señorita que estuvo hablando con usted esta tarde. Sí. ¿Cómo? Oh, no. No, quería darle las gracias por haberme dado las direcciones de cómo llegar al hotel. Sí, muy agradecida. Llegué muy bien. Solo eso. Muchísimas gracias.
It's he.
What will you do now?
I'll send a wire immediately.
Lisa, don't.
Don't! After spending all this time and all this money, and now you can say to me, don't. How can you ask such a thing of me, Maria?
For the reasons I've already explained. After all, you haven't seen this man. Maybe it's someone that simply looks like the doctor and has a similar voice. Thousands of people, you know, have been punished for crimes they didn't commit. Why don't you leave this matter in the Lord's hands? Only this way will you find real peace of mind.
No, Maria. I want you to ask at the desk the best way to send a cable immediately. You have the tickets?
Yes. Everything's in order.
Oh, Maria, I shall miss you. We spent so many wonderful months together, you and I. I shall remember the time I spent with you all the days of my life. You have been a true friend.
I hope so.
About yesterday, I hope you understand that I did what I had to do.
I understand. And how do you feel now? How do you truly feel?
Relieved. but not for the reason you think. I asked you to send that cable, and thinking about it since, I have concluded that it was the right thing to do, for after all it's a crime to conceal the whereabouts of criminals if we know it. However, my real relief has come from a realization of the rightness of your view concerning the taking of vengeance into our own hands. I realize now that just to find the doctor and report his whereabouts would not have given me peace. My peace has come through getting rid of hate. Maria, I shall never forget what you have taught me.
Surely we are happy that Lisa has discovered a better viewpoint. And it is the Lord's viewpoint. Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. However, Mr. Woodworth, do you think that for an individual simply to leave the administering of just punishment in the hands of God is the full solution of the problem of sin and sinners?
Well, certainly it is a very happy solution for those who are able to leave their enemies in the hands of the Lord, for him to administer punishment according to his own standards of righteousness. However, there is an additional satisfaction in seeking to learn from the Bible just what God's plan for the sinful world really is.
And you know, Russell, Lisa mentioned an important point when she reminded us that the inhumanity of man to man has not been limited to the war crimes of Germany. This sort of thing has been going on in one way or another and for one reason or another throughout all the ages. Throughout Europe during the Middle Ages, more people were tortured and killed for religious reasons than were put to death in the persecution of the Jews during the Second World War. Then there have been millions of individual crimes.
There is a bright side to all this, however, which is that doubtless the majority in every age have been out of harmony with atrocity. Man was created in the image of God, and while he has fallen from the pinnacle of perfection which he enjoyed in the beginning, yet most people are sufficiently godlike, even now, to reflect his attitude of mercy and love.
Yes, I think I could agree that the majority would rather do right than wrong. But to get right down to basic facts, just what is God's plan for the evildoer? Your answer, Ed, please.
Well, as I understand it, every evildoer will receive just punishment for his sins at a future time referred to in the Bible as the Judgment Day. That day of judgment will be 1,000 years in length. Jesus will be the great judge, and associated with him will be those who suffered and died with him as they have followed in his footsteps of sacrifice. These are restored to life in what the Bible describes as the first resurrection, that they might live and reign with Christ 1,000 years.
You see, Russell, God's great plan for the world calls for an awakening from the sleep of death for all the dead. Paul said that there would be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and the unjust. And Jesus said that all who are in their graves will hear his voice and come forth. Those who have done evil, he said, will come forth to a resurrection of judgment.
You can see right away, Russell, what a field of thought this opens up to us. We no longer need to think of evildoers merely as having passed away in death, regardless of whether or not their sins have been punished. They are to live again and be dealt with by the great judge of all.
Are we to understand that the foretold judgment day which you speak of will take place right here on the earth, and that those participating in it will be humans?
Yes, Russell, that's what the Bible clearly teaches.
Well, what will be the essential difference in conditions then and now?
In the first place, Satan, the great deceiver of mankind, will be bound. Many of the crimes of the world have been due to the fact that Satan has befuddled the minds of the people. He's referred to in the Bible as the terrible one who will then be brought low.
And besides that, Russell, through the agencies of Christ's kingdom, the people will be enlightened concerning the issues involved. The prophet Isaiah wrote that when the Lord's judgments are abroad in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness.
One of the illustrations of the Bible which points up the fact that the people will then be enlightened is the opening of the books.
Would you say that many of the crimes which have been committed have been due to ignorance, and that therefore criminals may not always be responsible for what they do?
Our own laws take this possibility into consideration. If a man is judged to be insane at the time of committing a crime, the law does not allow him to be prosecuted and punished. Now, what our imperfect human laws cannot do is take into account partial irresponsibility based on ignorance or upon deception by Satan.
But that will be a factor in the world's future judgment day, when the great judge and his exalted assistants will be dealing with the people. Is that what you are implying?
Yes, and I would like to read a statement of how wonderfully that system of judgment will operate in the hands of Jesus. In Isaiah, the 11th chapter, verses 2 to 4, we read, "And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, nor reprove after the hearing of his ears, but with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked."
Surely a wonderful judge. He will not need a jury to determine the guilt or innocence of a person, for he will be able to read the hearts of the people, and will therefore know just how responsible they are for their sin.
And on that point, Russell, Jesus said that those who know the Lord's will and do it not will be beaten with many stripes, while those who do not know the Lord's will and do not do it will be beaten with few stripes. In other words, the punishment of the people in the future day of judgment will be in keeping with the measure of their responsibility. And this will be based upon the degree of their knowledge of right and of wrong.
And I think, Russell, it is well to observe that Jesus did not say that anyone would be beaten with an endless number of stripes, such as implied in the idea of being tortured forever. The punishments in that future day of judgment will be corrective, and those who profit by them will be able gradually to take their normal place in society.
But will all profit from these corrective punishments?
The Scriptures indicate that there will be willfully wicked ones who will not profit. Concerning the future judgment day, Isaiah wrote, "Let favor be shown to the wicked, and he will not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness he will deal unjustly, and will not behold the majesty of the Lord." Peter said that all such will be cut off in death.
I gather then that no sinner will go unpunished, that all will be brought under the searching light of truth and held responsible for the crimes which he has committed, the degree of his responsibility being dependent upon his understanding of the issues involved.
And of course, Russell, in that wonderful time of the divine plan, all will be fully enlightened and thus shown the right way if they want to take it.
Fine. But I wonder now if we might get right down to cases. As we know, there have been many notorious criminals throughout the ages. Take Nero as an example. He caused Christians to be thrown to the lions, and he tortured them in other ways. Let us imagine Nero being awakened from the sleep of death and finding himself among those whom he has wronged. Just how will that work out?
The Scriptures do not reveal the details of individual cases, but certain principles are set forth in the Bible which help to guide us. For example, in Daniel chapter 12, verse 2, I should say, we read about the resurrection of the wicked dead. And it says that they shall awake to shame and lasting contempt. I think it would be an understatement to say that Nero will be ashamed when he is brought face to face with those whom he has persecuted and tormented. The Hebrew text indicates that this shame will be age-lasting, or lasting to a consummation. Let us say that Nero, being ignorant of the true God and of his will, and overwhelmed by the barbarous tendencies of the times, was not completely responsible for what he did. To whatever extent he was responsible, he will be punished. Perhaps the shame and contempt which will be heaped upon him at that time will be a part of the punishment. In any case, we can leave him in the hands of the Lord, who is too wise to err and will deal justly with him and with all.
And you can see, Russell, that there will be all sorts of situations to deal with, and only the Lord will know how to straighten out the tangled affairs of the people and resolve every situation justly and with mercy.
And I am glad he will be able to do this. How Lisa will then rejoice. But just one brief question. What about the idea that the Judgment Day is a time when Christians will be separated from non-Christians?
Well, actually, Russell, Jesus said to his disciples that believers of the present time will not come into that future judgment at all. Instead, they will be associated with Jesus as judges in dealing with mankind as they are awakened from the sleep of death. This thought is clearly brought out in the little book, The Judgment Day. All are welcome to a copy of this little book, and it's free.
Thank you. And friends, you are invited to send for your free copy of the little book, The Judgment Day. There is no obligation. You will be encouraged by the vital truths which this little book presents.
To view the booklet online, visit www.dawnbible.com, or to receive a hard copy of the booklet by mail, send us your name and postal mailing address and ask for the booklet by name. The title of the booklet for this program is The Day of Judgment. Send an email to dawnbible@aol.com. The booklet will be mailed to you free and without obligation. And now, goodbye, and may God bless you.